need to wind up. We'll shift focus to another stock, actually a stock that has been tearing away today. Godrej Properties should be up for you on your screen. Pirojsha Godrej, the Executive Director of Godrej Properties, joins in to talk about their latest Godrej Summit project in Gurgaon that has seen a really good response. Pirojsha, hi, good morning. Thanks for joining in. Can you quickly take us through the response that you've seen for Godrej Summit, and what is the kind of price per square feet that you're selling in on an average?
Great to be with you, Mithali. I think, we were very pleased. Yesterday we announced the launch of the project, and within 1 day we had sold out of the entire first phase, which actually comprised about 50% of the whole project. We sold about 1 million square feet, which is 695 apartments. And the average rate was just under 6,000 rupees a square foot.
What kind of operating margins are you looking at for this project, and what kind of revenue do you think you can generate?
We think, of course, we don't like to sort of specifically guide on operating margins, because it does depend on how costs move over the duration of the project, how successful we are in taking prices up in the next phase of the project. But I think the kind of volume we've seen, the kind of demand we've seen is very encouraging, and certainly this is a project that we launched at a fairly good price. So I think this project will give us margins much above most of our recent projects. So I think we're quite confident that the margin profile of the project will be very positive, but I wouldn't like to put a specific figure to it. In terms of bookings, we expect about 12 to 1300 crores of bookings from the project. It is an area sharing arrangement, so about 65% of that will accrue to us over a period of time.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking you about the margins, Pirojsha, is because this 6,000 rupees per square feet is much higher than what most analysts were pegging it at, and they were talking about a 50% operating profit margin as well. Do you think that's something that you can achieve with this particular project?
I think 50% is a little bit higher than we think we'll achieve. But again, it really does depend on how successful we are in taking prices up on further phases of the project. I think what's very encouraging about this is that with such a strong response, we can look at taking prices up quite substantially, because now we can focus more on ensuring we take margins even higher. But I think what's very encouraging is that even though costs have risen during the time, we've, even at the launch, been able to sell volumes that will allow us to achieve a very good margin.
When will phase 2 be launched? What kind of a tentative timeline are you looking at?
I think we're planning to do it around Diwali, but we haven't finalized that decision yet.
Okay, what's the total launch target that Godrej Properties has set out for FY13?
Mithali, the way we've looked at it is more by the number of projects we'd like to launch. I think the exact size of each phase is something we decide much closer to the launch, depending on what we see as the likely demand, depending on a variety of other factors. So this project now is the 4th project we've launched so far this financial year. We expect to launch a total of 17 projects or phases of projects. So they won't all be new projects. Out of the 17, for example, the 2nd phase of this project would be counted as another launch.
I'm just going to move from your P&L to your balance sheet, because some people have been concerned about how your debt has been escalating because of some payments you made for the land in Vikhroli. Where does the debt currently stand at, and what is your strategy to pay off your debt in this particular fiscal?
Sure, our current debt is about 1,750 crores. If you actually learn, our debt equity today, or at the end of last quarter, was about 1.2:1. If you compare that to even the start of this calendar year, at the end of quarter 3 of last financial year, we had a debt equity of 2:1 and even a higher total debt figure. I think we've been very successful in pairing that. We raised some equity at a difficult period in March through India's first ever IPP. So we've actually always guided that we are comfortable operating with a debt equity ratio of 1 to 1.5:1. Given our strategy, given the kind of cash flows we think we'll see from projects like Vikhroli, we do think that's a range we're comfortable in. We've also, however, said that given the number of launches we have this year, given the kind of strategies we have, and also given that we are looking now to monetize some of our commercial assets, that we do see an opportunity to further strengthen the balance sheet. But we are not, at the current moment, very concerned about where things stand.
What are these commercial assets that you're looking at monetizing, and by when do you think they can happen?
So we have 5 commercial projects currently underway. 3 are in tier 2 cities in Chandigarh and Kolkata. We have a headquarters building we're doing in Vikhroli, which is going to be largely used by our own group companies, and that is the monetization has happened. Sort of half of the project has already been sold. The other half will be sold in the coming months. And then we have a large asset in Bandra Kurla complex, which we're doing as a joint venture. That project, we hope to see some traction on the monetization of that in the next 2 quarters.
Okay, Pirojsha, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us, and all the best with your projects going ahead. That's the word coming in from Godrej Properties, holding high at that 4% mark. For the market, it's still flat, but just watch out for a couple of stocks and how they're behaving right now. Deccan Chronicle should be up for you. It started off in the red, but now that stock has completely moved into the green. In fact, it's holding on with a gain of about 0.5% or so. And a couple of other names like Adani Enterprises, Dish TV, Petronet LNG, and VIP are stocks that are gaining on the upside in the broader market. So